Emily Carter had always believed that nursing was more than just a job. It was a calling. Ever since she was a little girl, she had dreamed of helping those in need, offering them comfort in their darkest moments. That's exactly what she did every day at St. Mary's Hospital, where she had worked tirelessly for the past 7 years. Her patients adored her. She wasn't just efficient, she was compassionate. She would hold the hands of frightened elderly patients, tell jokes to calm down anxious children, and always made sure no one felt alone. But not everyone appreciated her kindness. The hospital's new administrator, Mr. Henry Dawson, was a businessman first and foremost. He didn't care about patients, only profits. The hospital had implemented strict policies under his management, one of which stated that any patient without insurance or the ability to pay would receive only the bare minimum care before being discharged. It didn't sit right with Emily, but she tried to follow the rules as best she could until one cold December night when everything changed. It was a particularly brutal winter evening when the emergency room doors burst open. A paramedic rushed in, pushing a stretcher. Lying on it was an unconscious homeless man, his face pale from the cold, his clothes tattered and soaked from the falling snow. He was found collapsed near the bus station, the paramedic explained. Severe hypothermia, no ID, no known family. Emily's heart clenched. The man was barely breathing. If they didn't act fast, he wouldn't make it. Dr. Benson, the attending physician, took one look at the chart and frowned. No insurance. Admin's not going to like this. Emily shot him a look of disbelief. He's dying. Dr. Benson sighed and nodded. All right, let's at least stabilize him. Emily sprang into action, grabbing blankets, warm IV fluids, and oxygen. She worked alongside the team to bring the man's temperature up. Hours later, after a long battle, the man's breathing became more stable and his color returned. Emily felt relieved. She had saved him. That's when she heard the slow, deliberate clacking of dress shoes against the hospital floor. She turned to see Mr. Dawson standing in the doorway, his arms crossed, his expression ice cold. "What do you think you're doing, Nurse Carter?" he asked, his voice laced with disapproval. Emily wiped her forehead and looked at him defiantly. Saving a life. Dawson's jaw tightened. Did this man provide proof of insurance? Any means to pay? He was dying. I couldn't just leave him to freeze to death. Dawson sighed dramatically. You know the policy, Emily. Uninsured patients get only minimal care and are sent to a shelter or a city-run clinic. What you did was against protocol. Emily felt anger bubbling inside her. He's a human being. Since when did hospitals stop caring about people? Dawson took a deep breath and then gave her a look that sent chills down her spine. Since now, pack your things, Nurse Carter. You're fired. Emily's world came crashing down. She stood there, stunned, as the security guard escorted her out of the hospital. Snow fell lightly on her shoulders as she stepped outside, her breath visible in the freezing air. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had done the right thing, but now she was out of a job. Little did she know, karma had already started working behind the scenes. And soon, the same man she had saved would change everything. Emily sat on her small apartment couch, staring blankly at the walls. It had been 3 days since she was fired. She had applied to several other hospitals, but word traveled fast in the medical community. No one wanted to hire a nurse who had been terminated for violating hospital policy, even if that policy was cruel. Her savings wouldn't last forever, and with rent due soon, the pressure was suffocating. But despite the uncertainty, she didn't regret what she had done. Her phone vibrated, snapping her out of her thoughts. Unknown number calling. She hesitated before answering. Hello? A deep but familiar voice spoke. Miss Carter. Yes? This is John Harrington. You might not remember me, but you saved my life. Emily's eyes widened. Wait. You're the man from the hospital? Yes, he said, his voice filled with gratitude. I owe you everything. I was unconscious when you helped me, but I've been piecing things together since I woke up. Emily smiled softly. I was just doing my job. Well, your job got you fired, he said, his tone shifting. I just found out what happened. I won't let that slide. She furrowed her brows. John, it's okay. I knew the risks. No, it's not okay, he insisted. You saved me when no one else cared. Now it's my turn to return the favor. Emily didn't know what to say. Who was this man, really? The next morning, Emily woke up to a flood of messages and missed calls. Her phone was blowing up with notifications. Confused, she opened her social media to see her name trending. Nurse fired for saving a homeless man. Public outrage grows. Her stomach flipped. Articles were everywhere detailing her firing, questioning the hospital's ethics, and calling for justice. There were hashtags like #Justice for Nurse Carter and #Healthcare for All trending nationwide. Then she saw a video. John Harrington was standing in front of a news camera telling his story. He wasn't just some homeless man. He was a retired businessman who had lost everything after a series of tragic events. He had once owned a successful company, but after a devastating house fire, medical debt, and the unexpected loss of his wife, he had spiraled into homelessness. I was left to die in the cold, he said in the video, his eyes filled with emotion. No one cared, except for one person, Nurse Emily Carter. She fought for me when no one else would. And how did the hospital repay her? They fired her. The video had millions of views. People in the comments were furious. This is disgusting. How can a hospital punish kindness? She deserves a medal, not a pink slip. Boycott Street. Mary's hospital, until they make this right. Emily's hands were shaking as she read the overwhelming support. The hospital's reputation was in tatters, and at the center of it all was her. Then her phone rang again. This time, it was a familiar number. Emily let the phone ring for a few seconds before answering. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. Emily, Mr. Dawson's voice came through the line, unusually tense. She smirked. Oh, Mr. Dawson, what a surprise. What can I do for you? A heavy sigh followed. Listen, we need to talk. The hospital is under serious fire. We've been getting non-stop calls, emails, and media requests. People are outraged about what happened to you. This is turning into a PR nightmare. Emily leaned back on her couch, savoring the moment. Oh, you mean people don't like the idea of a hospital firing a nurse for helping a dying man? Dawson ignored the sarcasm. We want to offer you your job back. Emily raised an eyebrow. That was fast. We'll make a public statement, issue an apology, he continued. We'll say it was all a misunderstanding. You can come back with full benefits, even a raise. Emily let out a short laugh. You mean you're desperate. A long pause. Emily, be reasonable. She thought about it. The job security, the steady paycheck. But then she remembered the look on Dawson's face when he fired her. How cold and indifferent he was. How easily he had thrown her away. And she knew she could never go back. Mr. Dawson, she said, her voice calm but firm. I don't need your job anymore. He stammered. Emily, think this through. I have, she interrupted. You didn't fire me because of hospital policy. You fired me because you didn't care about doing the right thing, and now karma has come knocking at your door. She heard his breath hitch. Emily, she hung up. 1 week later, the fallout from the scandal only got worse. St. Mary's Hospital was now under investigation. More patients started coming forward about mistreatment and unethical practices. Several donors pulled their funding, and the hospital faced major financial losses. Then it happened. Breaking news. Hospital administrator Mr. Dawson resigns amid public outcry. Emily nearly dropped her coffee when she saw the headline. He was gone. The same man who had fired her with no hesitation was now jobless, humiliated, and disgraced. Karma had done its job. But that wasn't all. Her phone buzzed with another message from John Harrington. Check your email. I have an offer for you. Curious, she opened it. Her eyes widened. A position at a new, community-driven healthcare center, a place that prioritized compassion over profit, a place where nurses like her were valued. She smiled. She didn't just get justice. She got something better, a fresh start, a new purpose, and best of all, she had won. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.